I've been on this flight journey for I don't even know, like over 24 hours or 48 hours. Shit, I don't even know. I lost count, lost track of time. At some point on my flight journey, I looked at the time and I genuinely did not know if it was like AM or PM. Like there was like 5 minutes of me like questioning, like, is it the morning or the nighttime right now? And yeah, I was vlogging the whole thing to cope, and it was so exhausting, like the whole trip. But it just made me want to like talk about the human experience and why I'm okay with like life being this way, and like why I think that humans need to suffer. And because I have so much time, I've decided to try to talk about Notes from Underground. I've been wanting to make a video about it for a while. Right now my laptop is going to die, my phone's going to die, so I don't know how, like, I don't know how I'm gonna make this video, but I'm gonna try and you know, see what happens. I just want to pull out a Word doc. So my laptop is 8%. I don't know how long that will last. I can't charge it because I don't have the American adapter. Like, why do they have to do that? Why do they have to make it so different everywhere? And whatever. Can't find it. So I just put on my headphones. Hopefully the audio is better with them. I don't know. I might be wrong, but I don't feel like thinking about it too much. I basically, when I read, I usually underline things that stick with me. I like this method because it makes me feel more engaged with the book. But I'm just gonna share some of the lines and just talk about what they meant to me in that moment. So for some background info on the book, it's a very small book for Fyodor Dostoevsky. It feels like a short story, and for me, somebody who struggles to read, it was actually quite simple, and I was able to finish the whole book, which was an accomplishment for me because I tend to not finish books. It's basically written. Okay, my phone just doesn't have storage anymore, but I'm gonna try to push through. As I was saying, it's the notes of like this guy who we don't even know his name or much about him, like his family, or we don't know anything about him. It's just he wrote some things in his diary, and we're reading these things, and that's why it's called Notes from Underground. He also lives underground, which I thought was super interesting. He calls it his mouse hole. And basically, I don't want to give too much about what it is, because I feel like with Dostoevsky and like with a lot of art in general, people have their own way of interpreting it. For me, I saw it as somebody who's poor but who has an education and who's very, very educated and knowledgeable on life, philosophical, has, you know, read, is very well read, which makes him suffer more. And the way he perceives people, when you're reading it, can feel quite intimidating because you feel like he's very negative. But I feel like when you dive deeper into the way that he thinks and everything that he says, there's a lot of truth in it, which is not a good thing because everything he says is like very honest. And something that I thought about was like, I don't know if Dostoevsky wants us to use him to criticize real life or to criticize people like him that exist within real life. So that is something that I'm still trying to think about, and maybe he wants us to do both. But anyway, I'm gonna start doing these. I'm just gonna start reading some quotations from the book. One of my favorite lines was this one, and it stuck with me because I was experiencing a toothache. It says, "Once I suffered from a toothache for a whole month, and I can tell you there's pleasure in it." Page 93. I don't know, that line really stuck with me. I had removed my wisdom tooth, and I was still recovering from it, and I read it, and I was like, that is so true. Like, sometimes you have a little pain somewhere, and you might complain about it, but you find pleasure in it, and make of it what you want. But to me, it meant that there's pleasure in suffering, for sure. I made up whole stories about myself and put myself through all sorts of adventures, all to satisfy, at any price, my need to live. Page 96. I feel like this is an interesting line. I feel like this goes back to this question that people might experience at least once in their lifetime, or, you know, this big question of like, what's my purpose? I feel like we have this urge that we need to experience everything in life and we need to make the most out of it. And when our life feels empty and quiet, we try to fill it. We try to fill that void with things that might be harmful to us. And I like that he said, I made up whole stories about myself and put myself through all sorts of adventures. You know, like, we go out there and we do things that we know might harm us, but we do them anyway because we're like, we need to fill this void, and maybe it gives us pleasure in the short term, and we keep chasing that pleasure, and at the end of the day, it doesn't, you know, get us anywhere, but we keep doing it knowing that it's not the right thing to do. Anyway, another quotation. In fact, man adores suffering passionately. It's a fact. Why? Suffering is the only cause of consciousness. Page 111. By the way, this is from, because I know the pages are different for each book, but this is from this copy, which my cousin got me from Antoine in Lebanon. But anyway, I'm not really going to explain this specific line. It just speaks for itself. This is also one of my favorites. Why, one may ask, do I want to write at all? If it's not for the public, couldn't I just reminisce in my head without putting things down on paper? That's a good question, but I feel that writing will lend dignity to it. There's something impressive about the written word that is more conducive to self-examination, and my confession will have more style. It is possible, too, that the very process of writing things will relieve me somewhat. Today, for instance, I am particularly oppressed by an old memory. This one hit home. I am big on journaling. I constantly have a journal on me. As soon as it finishes, I have another journal waiting for me. Writing is probably the one thing that has stuck over the years as means of self-expression for me. And I really love what he said. Today, for instance, I am particularly oppressed by an old memory. Sometimes we have things going well for us, but we feel like shit. Why? Because there's something on our mind, and I don't know, I really like that he said the word oppressed to describe that feeling. I never thought of using that word. Like, that is such a big word to use it to describe this kind of emotion. But that is page 116, so anyway. This one, apparently I was something like a housefly in their eyes. Page 133. I'll go more in depth about this later because there's more lines that are similar to this. I, of course, hated him, even then, precisely because he was so pretty and cheerful. I really like this part of the book where he goes to reunite with his high school friends, and deep down he hates them, but He wants to prove to them that he's better than them. And it's like this really weird thing. It's like he's aware of his flaws and his insecurities. He knows that they know about his flaws, but because he knows that they know, he wants to appear as this perfect being, that he's superior to them, because he doesn't want them to know that what they know is actually true about him. And I'm just like, holy shit, like, in this line, he's referring to one of his close friends. He said, "He knew me through and through, and that made me furious." There's a reason why we are so intimidated and we get so easily bothered by our family. Like, family is our closest people, and that's why we show them our truest emotions. We get annoyed by them because they know us so well. And this reminds me of the whole concept of we accept the love we think we deserve. When people know us well, when people care about us, we run away from them because we don't love ourselves enough to accept their love. And I know this is like kind of going somewhere else, but I related it to that. This is also referring to his friends. They couldn't understand the essential things, and they were not interested in the most thought-provoking subjects, so I considered them as inferiors. Page 139. Disregarding justice, they callously, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that word right, scorned everything that was helpless and oppressed. I hated them violently, although I was probably worse than they. This whole part of the book is showing you how he feels like he's so much better than them, he feels superior to them, but at the same time, he's so desperate for their validation. He's actually envious of them, even though he feels superior to them. But it's because deep down, he thinks that they don't know how superior he is to them, so he feels the need to prove it to them. Anyway, even though he knows that he like, this line shows, I wanted to show the lot of them that I wasn't the coward I myself thought I was. It's like he knows that he's a shitty person, but he doesn't want them to clock him. When he starts talking about love, I'm about to get to the love section right now. I don't even know what to do. Like, it did something to me. Like, I remember I was reading in the car and I was like I was crashing out because of how good it was. And my laptop's gonna die, but I have the book on me just in case. Anyway, here it is. Love is a divine mystery and must be hidden from the eyes of the world, as must whatever takes between the lovers. Page 165. It's true, of course, that the honeymoon feeling dies, but it's replaced by a better love. In that love, their souls merge. They share everything and don't have any secrets from one another. Page 165. Okay, I'm about to move to page 176. This is when Lisa comes over to his house. Or this is after the interaction with Lisa, specifically. I don't remember if when she came to his house or before, blah, blah, blah. But he said, I couldn't get a hold of myself that day. Something kept oppressing me and tormenting me and wouldn't leave me alone. I arrived home altogether depressed. I underlined this just because I felt like a lot of people relate, like that feeling of loving someone, but the beginning of like wanting them and being depressed when they're not there, or you're not sure if they feel the same way and things like that. And there's this feeling that oppresses you, as he says. Anyway, this is him referring to the guy that lives with him. I am still confused about this part. I don't know like what that guy's relationship to him is, but he lives with him. That's all I know. He said, at times my loathing for him reached a point where the sound of his steps alone would throw me into convulsions. page 180. Anyway, back to Lisa, page 189. Out of all I had said, she understood what a sincerely loving woman would understand first, that I myself was unhappy. Anyway, something I'm about to read another line, and I just want to give a little bit of context. When they had that first interaction, him and Lisa, he felt like the hero in that first interaction with her because she was like not feeling good, she looked sad, and he was there giving her like his speech, and he perceived himself as the hero in that situation. And here he says, because this is after she came over to his house and he broke down to her, he says, the thought also flashed through the turmoil in my head that we definitely changed places, Lisa and I, that she now had the heroic role and I was the beaten down, crushed creature she had been the night over there. It's so interesting to me because he sees it as roles, and he constantly needs to be the hero, and he's aware that in this moment he's not the hero, and yeah, to him that wasn't a good thing. This is the big thing about this part of the book. The main thing, that he is aware that he is not somebody who can love. And the fact that he's aware of it makes it all so much more difficult to understand. And this is the way he perceives love. However, I'm not completely certain that she did understand everything clearly, beyond the fact that I was a loathsome creature, and most important, that I couldn't love her. In the first place, I couldn't fall in love because for me, loving means bullying and dominating. Even dreaming in my mouse hole, I never visualized love as anything but a struggle, starting with hatred and ending in the subjection of the loved object. Page 191. For a woman, all resurrection, all salvation from whatever perdition lies in love. In fact, it is her only way in it. Anyway, very interesting. I don't even want to give my thoughts on this. I just want to appreciate like the beauty of literature. Her presence simply weighed on me heavily. I wanted her to vanish. I wanted peace. I wanted to be left alone in my mouse hole. The whiff of real life overwhelmed me and I couldn't breathe. Page 192. It's like, between him and her, there is a beautiful possibility for love. There is a possibility of it being a real thing, and he's aware of it, so it scares him, so he runs away. And you can't tell me that is everybody's experience in love, at least at some point in their life. It's like something so good and it's so right that you run away from it because you're like, I just don't deserve something to be this good. I want to be miserable. I want to be by myself in my mouse hole, and I will be relieved this way because I deserve to be miserable because I'm a housefly. Oh my god, like, oh my god, oh my god. Okay, my phone's about to die. It's still running out of storage, but I'm gonna continue. This line is referring to after he gave Lisa money. In doing this cruel thing, I wasn't prompted by my heart but my stupid head. This cruelty was so convicted in bad literature that I couldn't bear it myself and leaped away to a far corner of the room. I was so egotistical. I despised people so much that I'd never imagined she'd do it. Page 192. And isn't it much better? I mused later, back at home, trying to soothe the living pain with my fantasies. For her to bear this humiliation as long as she lives, because humiliation is purification, because it causes the most painful awareness. Whatever filth surrounds her, my insult will elevate her, purify her through. So, fuck, okay, I'm gonna try to do this quick. He sees his humiliation towards her as something that is going to be good for her, and by having this mentality, he's justifying that he is still a hero in her life. Anyway, This line is insane. Why? We've reached a point where we consider real life as work, almost as painful as labor, and we are secretly agreed that the way it is presented in literature is much better. And what's all this fuss about? What are we demanding? We don't know ourselves. We would be the ones to suffer if our whimsical wishes were granted. Page 190. I was saying, this just shows you how even when we do obtain the materialistic things that we wish for or that we think will give us pleasure, we actually end up only wanting more and more and more. And this is kind of like a consumerism, capitalistic mentality. And at the end of the day, if you want to dive really, really deep into this, in the grand scheme of things, it's causing some kind of depression in us because we're never satisfied enough. Anyway, I'm almost done. I know what I'm saying is liable to make you angry, that it may make you stamp your feet and scream. Talk about yourself and about your own miseries in your stinking hole, but don't dare say all of us. But listen to me for a moment. I'm not trying to justify myself by saying all of us. As for me, all I did was carry to the limit what you haven't dared to push even halfway, taking your cowardice for reasonableness, thus making yourselves feel better, so I may still turn out to be more alive than you in the end. Left alone without literature, we immediately become entangled and lost. We don't know what to join, what to keep up with, what to love, what to hate, what to respect, what to despise. Page 195, the last page of the book. I'm gonna end it right here. And maybe I'll write my thoughts on this instead of trying to say it out loud without having it planned, because there's so much to say about this. Even at the end of the book, it shows you that he still wants to prove himself that he is better than all of us, and that he knows that we know what he's saying is true, but that we are not willing to admit it, but he is, and therefore he is superior to all of us, and he is better than all of us. But I also see all of us in him, so it's so interesting because it's like a paradox. It's like he's seeing us and we're seeing ourselves in him, and I love Dostoevsky. Crime and Punishment changed my life, and I felt like reading Notes from Underground felt like the way Raskolnikov would think. So it really did remind me of Raskolnikov. I made a lot of connections, but I don't know. Dostoevsky was onto something. I don't know exactly what he's trying to tell us in Notes from Underground. I'll try to read some interpretations on the book, and I'm to leave. I don't have any storage left, and my phone's gonna die, and I have to go back to whatever. It doesn't matter. Bye.